let's get this party started. All right, so today, guys, I got a couple of fun things to talk about. I've been, like I said, I have a lot of closings this week. Like I don't even remember, 5 or 6. I think one got pushed to next week, so I think I'm down to 5. But one of the things that I keep looking at, and I really wanted to talk to y'all about this week, is the closing disclosures, HUD statements, all of that goodness. And basically, what am I looking for? What's happening with this? Why is it important? And so I wanted to take a sample. I went and pulled a bunch of them. Some that I'm working on right now, some that are trying to close in the future that we're having problems with, and then some of them that are on my investing side, because I promised you guys I would talk a lot more about investing and what that kind of looks like from different angles. And so when I close on these, what does it look like? So without any further ado, and I do have a big surprise for y'all at the end. I wanted to do something nice for the people that show up this week, and because I really want to start 2021 really strong. So I do have some funness in store at the end, so be excited. Santa Claus came to town and everybody's getting something fun. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share this one here. So hopefully, can everybody see this folder that I've got called Epson Scan? Everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes, cool. The bad news is it makes it look like I'm looking away when I share this screen. Let me stop real quick. Let me try to see if I can share this screen. And I'm going to pull this down here. Can everybody still see the Epson Scan folder or EpScan? Anybody, Joyce? It's like, yeah, you can see it. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Sorry, I just want them to look like I'm looking at you because the videos look really strange when I post them. If I'm constantly looking around, looks like I have some sort of attention issue, which I've been tested. I might. Okay, so let's get to looking at these. So I've got 5 of them that I wanted to look at with you guys. The first one is this one right here. And this is going to be one of the most comprehensive ones that we're looking at today. That's why I wanted to start with this one. On this particular transaction, I was representing the buyer for this property. I was representing the buyer. We were moving into this property. This is what I was representing over here. Where did that go? There we go. So I'm representing the buyer. Now, this right here is going to be the most extensive because it's actually a couple different pieces of paper, and this comes from the very final file after they have signed everything. So you're going to really see what it looked like at the dead end. So we were buying a property, and by the way, guys, I took the liberty of whiting some of this stuff out because I don't have everybody's permission on this, but they were buying a house for $218,000 here in San Antonio, okay? This first closing disclosure statement, if you notice, guys, it talks about this is loan terms. So the very first page is talking about the loan only, just the loan. So we're not talking about all the little crazy stuff that goes into it. How much is this guy going to be borrowing to buy the house? This is very important because a lot of people want to know, what will my payment be? So this first one's really simple. It's the final loan terms for closing costs. This is the final one because it does adjust as we're going through this. You can receive this from your loan originator. Again, I'm representing the buyer. If you're representing a seller in this situation, they don't care about the loan. I don't give a crap. Give me my money. Okay, now the buyer needs to know what they're going to be paying for the rest of their natural life, right? Did y'all know the mortgage, it comes from the word, the Latin mort, and then gauge. So it literally means mort means death, mortality, and engage like engagement. So it literally means this is an engagement for life. That's what mortgage means. Obviously, this is a 30-year note, but we'll show that in a minute. So loan term, 30 years. So burning through this real quick, guys. 30 years, purpose, flat rate product. It is going to be a conventional loan versus FHA, VA, or anything else out there. Loan amount is $174,000 at a 5% interest rate. These guys didn't have real great credit, so we had to go conventional. We got 5%, which is high for the time, but it still worked out for them and they were happy with it. Their monthly principal and interest, guys, this is just repaying the loan, is $936.22 a month. But that's not what their payment will be because we will be escrowing. So when we think about this, estimated escrow, and they had no mortgage insurance. So if you put less than 20% down on properties, typically, not every time, typically, you'll end up with something called mortgage insurance. It's either called PMI, private mortgage insurance, or MIP, mortgage insurance protection, I think. Doesn't matter, same thing. It's just a tax, and basically for not having enough money. It's just the way they kind of get you one more time. But this is going to add up to what their total payment will be. So if you notice, they say right here, this stuff, none of this is going to increase after closing. This is a fixed loan. So this will stay the same the entire time. The principal and interest, it points out that your escrow can change over time. So the escrow is going to hold two things typically. It's going to have your insurance premium and it's going to have your taxes in there. So taxes, every year I've ever been alive, taxes have gone up. Okay, I've never seen a year where the taxes drop. The second thing is your insurance premium. Now that can fluctuate. If you have home and auto or you change carriers, that can go up or down kind of depending on what's going on. But your taxes tend to go up. So this is their portion of taxes and insurance, and that we'll actually break that down here in just a little bit. But that's $489 a month. And they say right here, this is covering your taxes and insurance. You can have other things in escrow. One of the most popular is HOA dues. If you live in a community that has very high HOA dues, they tend to be retirement communities, things with lots of facilities. They'll escrow that so it's in the monthly payment so you don't get popped with some big bill at the end of the year. And it's answering the question, is this in your escrow? These two things account for your escrow. So what I show my client is, hey, after everything, your payment's going to be $1,426. It's probably going to go up a little bit year to year. We're also going to talk at this one, cost at closing. How much closing cost are they paying and how much cash do they need to close? So guys, it's going to cost them $7,500 in closing costs. Now, this is where a lot of people get very confused because closing cost is kind of a blanket statement for just about everything. Anything in there that is not just the loan or just the house. And we're going to walk through this line by line. But the next thing is guys, they have to bring $42,000, $886.24 to closing. That's what they need to bring in. They either need to wire it to title or bring in a cashier's check. I typically recommend that people bring in cashier's checks because most of the general public's not real good at wiring. And if they mess that up, you'll never see that money again. So you got to be careful with that. However, talk to them. By the way, general wiring stuff, guys, never just believe in email. Make sure they always call and verify. Make sure there's always a phone call. Okay, so this is the basic loan terms, and this is just that one page. This came out with the Dodd-Frank Act, and they said, hey, look, we need to have pretty much everything that the client, the most simple basic stuff. Your payment's going to be $1,400 a month, your interest rate, how much you're borrowing, how much closing costs, and how much cash you're going to need. This is the most reduced, simplest portion that they can have. And then on the rest of the pages, we break it down. And as you can see, it gets broken down pretty big. So loan cost. So what does it cost you to actually get the loan? There is an origination fee. You have to pay an origination fee, and that's going to be paid for by your buyers, the people taking the loan. So that costs them $1,600. 1%-ish is about standard. Unless you're dealing with somebody else like a hard money lender or something, and I'll show you some hard money deals where that's going to be a lot higher because we're borrowing hard money and it kind of hurts. So also I want you to notice the columns, who's paying at closing and before closing. So some of these things they paid before. One of them was the appraisal. We had to get this thing appraised. And this also identifies what they did not shop for. This was not up to you. This was up to the loan originator. So the loan originator hired an appraisal for $460 and they paid it before closing, meaning my clients wrote a check for $460. Here you go, Mr. Appraiser, go do that. So it's not going to be in the final loan thing. It was paid beforehand. Credit report, they have to pull their credit. That's not up to the client who they get the credit report from. That cost them $53. And the doc prep fee to the law offices of Christopher J. Sullivan. So doc prep fees, guys, that's going to be basically all of when the lawyer drafts up your documents for your deed of trust, your promissory note, all of those documents that you sign that are a whole lot of pages that have to do with legal, a lawyer drafts those and you need to pay your lawyer. So that's going to be in the closing cost as well. If we move on down, the services that the borrower did shop for. Okay, they have the option to change these right here. One of them is the title company. So closing and escrow fees for independence title. Now, there are fees on this one, and if you notice, they're exactly the same amount. It's two different lines. I'm not real sure why they do it on two different lines. I'm sure it has something to do with the calculation, but basically they're paying $375 a side. $375 a side, meaning just to have the privilege of going to the escrow company, having them put all of this stuff together, having the notary, having all of that together for you at the escrow company, each person's paying $375 for that. Okay. By the way, this is negotiable. You can negotiate these escrow fees. $375, it's pretty average. I've seen them as low as $250. I've seen them as high as like $500, $700. I think I saw one title company do it. But this is negotiable. You can call the title company and be like, holy crap, you're charging $700. Maybe we need to change title companies, and they'll jump. This one is negotiable. All right. The next one, a courier fee. They charge $35 to each person. This is actually kind of standard, and you can question that as well. This means we had to overnight some docs, or we had to send somebody out to go get a signature from so-and-so at their house. Those are just little fees. I kind of noticed throughout doing a whole bunch of transactions that this is just they just kind of put a blanket $35 on there. But you can question it if you really want to. You can say, hey, look, you didn't mail anything, you didn't do anything. I mean, we came to you every single time. Why is this $35 in here? Not going to say they're going to take it off, but you can ask the question. Now, doc preparation fee to the lawyer of Rudy Cantu. Now, this one is being paid by the seller. So she had to have some things drawn up, which would be the deed that is conveying the house. So she has to pay for that deed. And anything else that's prepped, guys, you can ask what exactly was prepped in that, but it doesn't bother me because that's on the seller side. I was representing the buyer here. So guarantee assessment recoupment charge to, God, I can't remember what this is, the Texas Title Insurance Guarantors of America. Recording fee, so it's $2. They got to pay somebody and they don't want to do it, so they're going to make him do it. $6 for e-recording fees. So a lot of times to speed things up, they'll record it online through the accounting. There's a fee for that. And then last but not least is the lender's title insurance to Independence Title Company. So there's title insurance, and this statement is on your 1 to 4 family contract. Who is paying for title insurance? Okay. And we were going to pay for it. I can't remember why we did this. This was the beginning of the year or late last year. I can't remember. It's a little while, but it might've been a negotiation tactic. And we have to order a tax certificate, but we want to make sure that the seller has paid their taxes. And so she's going to pay for that tax certificate. So the first part, this is the loan cost. So in order to get the loan, it cost my client $4,141, and he's already paid $460 of it. This is part of your closing costs. Remember from the previous page, they said you're paying $7,500 in closing costs. Well, this is the first $4,100 of it. What's the rest of it? Let's keep going. Other costs, recording fees, deeds, mortgage. So this $6 here was to do it electronically, and this is what they charge to actually file it with the county. So we're going to speed it up. You can tell them, I don't want to pay the $6, and they'll have to go down to the courthouse or something, but then I'm sure your courier fee is going to go up. It's a game. I don't really argue it too much. Homeowners insurance premium. They do have to prepay a year's worth of insurance. Your escrow account is empty. When you start a loan, we need to fill it up. So they're going to prepay 1 year. So they're never behind the 8 ball. So they're going to prepay 12 months to Allied Trust. I guess that was their insurance company. And they're going to prepay the interest through whenever they figure out when the loan starts or ends or whatever it is. There's an interest calculation in there. And you can call the loan originator. This changes quite a bit. It doesn't always end on 11/1. Sometimes it ends on 2/1 or something like that. But basically what they're doing is they're getting through the end of the month. So since we're going to close on the 23rd, you're going to prepay your interest for that month. So those days, because your first payment won't be due until the 1st, or maybe it's 12/1 or something like that. They're going to prepay some interest. So that's coming out. Homeowners insurance. So the initial prepaid, so they're going to prepay 1 full year and then also 3 months worth, because we've got to get from October, November, December. So 3 months worth of that. And they're going to pay for the county taxes, because they only pay the county taxes at the end of the year. They have to prepay October, November, December right here. So this is going to be something they prepay as well. So right there, there's $475 in insurance and taxes. Other things. Now, if you notice, the home warranty, that's optional. Buyer chose, but in our contract, we said, hey, you're paying for that. So that goes in the seller's column. That's the residential service contract. Real estate commissions. Now, the buyer's agent, me, Whiteline Realty, and the seller's agent. Now, typically, the seller, I'm 99% of transactions, the seller pays a full 6%. So that's going to go on her side as well. And we split that in half, right? 3% to me, 3% to her. She has to pay her taxes from January 1st through October 23rd. So that's $4,500. And if you remember, we're paying the taxes for the last 3 months. Okay. Owner's title policy. Again, these are title fees, owner title endorsement optional. That's I think this right here, if I'm not mistaken, is if you say that on the 1 to 4 family, it says who's going to pay for the title. And if there's any overages, who's going to pay for it. So that's the very last box on it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but we obviously said, hey, we're paying for title. And if there's anything that's overage on it, we have to pay for it. So that's where that line comes in as well. So other cost, subtotal. So we're taking all the other cost, that's $3,584. So if we take the loan cost, $4,100, and the other cost, $3,500, we add it all together, $7,507. But we're going to subtotal this out. We've already paid $460 because we prepaid for our appraisal. And the lender is giving us a credit of $218. Now, why was the lender giving us a credit of $218? I don't know. I honestly don't remember what that credit was for. It could have been like, hey, look, we are going to credit you. We had to order a rush appraisal, and that was a $218 difference. And they're saying, hey, that was on us, so we'll pay for it. Not real sure, but they just put that in there. I honestly can't remember. So where are we at on this one? Next, calculating cash to close. They call this a tolerance section in here. This is part of the Dodd-Frank, they call it Regulation X, I think, or something like that. This is talking about when they got the original loan estimate. So at the very beginning, your client will get a loan estimate. I think this is how much your loan is going to cost you and how much cash you're going to need. And now that we've gone through all the paperwork, this is the final. This is what it's actually going to look like. There's really a lot of weird rules and laws about this. You notice there's no cents over here, but there's cents over here because on the loan estimate, the general public said it's too confusing with all the decimal places. And so they took it off of there. But on the final one, we have to account for all these cents because they do add up to dollars. So we're going to go through one at a time. Originally, we thought the closing costs were going to be $12,000, but the final was $7,000. Did this change? Yes, it did. How do I know where it changed? Section D and Section I, okay? So you can go back through here and you can see these are all labeled Section D, wherever it is. See this change, and it walks you through that. Next thing, closing costs paid before closing. We didn't think you were going to pay anything, but you actually did. See, you paid these closing costs before closing. And this walks through line by line. Down payment funds, that actually stayed the same because we knew we were putting 20% down. Deposits, the loan estimate was $2,100. It's down to $2,000. It decreased, and I'll explain why later. But basically they took, this was the $100. So the $2,000 was the earnest money deposit, and the $100 was, do you want to credit the option fee? So they did put that here, but they just moved it down to here later. So that adjusted a little bit. Funds for the borrower, no, that didn't adjust. Seller credits. So this is interesting. Seller credits did change. When I originally sent in the contract, I probably had $3,000 in closing costs on the contract. Now, after the inspection came back, I'm assuming I said, hey, look, nah, you're giving us $5,000. So that's why that changed, the seller's credits. The next one, adjustments and other credits, this changed as well. Oops. And basically the $100 got moved into here, and we're taking, it's line K9, the taxes, line L6, the title policy, and the option fee. So if you take those are the adjustments and other credits. That's why it dropped down. The $100 went over here. If you ever need explanation on why this changed, call the lender and they'll explain why that changed. I just happen to remember from the one we did. All right, so now we're almost all the way through it. So we're gonna look at the summary. All right, basically, let me just recap. Page 1, this is what your lending estimate is. This is what your mortgage will look like. This is it broken down. Now I'm gonna summarize the whole thing. So when we do the summary of the whole thing, due from borrower at closing is $225,000. That is the total price of this transaction. The price of the house was $218,000. The closing cost is $7,000. You've also got to pay your taxes. Okay, so you add all this up and you just keep going down the lines, guys. You've already paid $2,000 in your escrow money. You're getting a loan for $174,000. They're giving you $5,000 back to pay for closing costs. The title policy seller credit, remember we talked about that, and your option fee are in here. So if you take the total price of the transaction, subtract what's already coming from the lender and through closing cost and the seller's credit on the title policy, that's $183,000. So basically the cash to close is $42,886. Here's what's interesting. This document starting here is separate from this document, the original seller's one, the original loan estimate, okay? You need to make sure that this number and this number match up, which they do in this particular case. If they don't match up, you've got to go through there and figure out why. Who do you talk to? The lender or the escrow agent? Why aren't those two numbers matching up? Because you don't want to get to the signing table and have the wrong number. I'll be honest with you, the title company is going to be looking at this. So if this number is higher than the other one, you better figure out why. Okay. Additional information about this loan, I usually kind of blow through this. It kind of breaks down, you know, the escrow and whatever else is going on. Contact information. I think this is a fun page too. Hey, who is the lender? If you need to call somebody, who am I calling? What's his phone number? Who's this on the lender side? What's the real estate agent on both sides? And the settlement statement. So again, guys, if you have questions about this piece of paper, this page tells you who you can call. Hey, man, I thought you were paying closing costs over here. Let me call that other realtor. Hey, I thought we had, you know, a bigger seller credit because you had to rush order the appraisal. You need to call, in this one, Jeffrey Aaron Cap. Here's his phone number. Hey, title company, your math's not adding up. Who do I call? Right here, David Gallegos. Here's his phone number. Okay, so that's what's helpful about this. Now, this is what they call a closing disclosure. And the funny thing is, guys, they do it one more time, literally the exact same information, just in a different format. This is more of a bookkeeping format where for every credit, there has to be a debit. For every credit, there has to be a debit. And so they just put this in here for just another way to look at it. I don't usually use this one as it confuses a lot of people because you'll see that. So in case you forgot, guys, credit means it goes up and debit means it goes down. So the credit goes to the seller and the debit goes to the buyer. So basically this needs to be 0 at the bottom of the page once we figure the entire thing out. So one of the fun things I think at the bottom of this page, by the way, guys, and I'm not going to walk all the way through this because it's going to take me another 10 minutes, but it's going to be the exact same numbers as you saw above. But this is where you can see the final numbers. I guess it's not really working because I scanned this back in. Total due from the borrower, again, is $42,000. Total due to the seller is $24,808. So upon completion of this transaction, my buyer has to walk in with $42,800, and the seller is going to walk away with a check for $24,000. And this is, like I said, this is more like a bookkeeping one, debits and credits, debits and credits. It shows that they have to pay off their loan. It shows that they have to pay this, you know, all that good stuff. There's a little bit more information on here, but it has mostly to do with the seller side because that is in here. But I'm going to talk more about that in just a little bit. So this is this was a final statement. This is what came when I got all the closing documents for this transaction. So we pretty much walked through that entire one together. And now I want to look at a few more. Now that you have a better understanding, I'm going to walk through some of these with a different lens on. So the next one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this one, guys, I was representing the seller. This one, I'm representing the seller. I'm helping them sell their house. All right. Oh, this transaction just closed yesterday. All right. We sold the house due to the seller at closing, $156,027. How much did we sell the house for? $56,000. Where's that other $27? Well, they are going to pay the last 2 days of the year of taxes, $24, and they're going to pay the last 2 days of HOA dues, which was $2.88. Because my client has already paid taxes through the end of the year, so you owe us those taxes. Pretty straightforward on that. Again, here's the contact information, whoever you need to speak to. Due from the seller at closing is $107,000. Why is that? Well, because we got to pay off the mortgage. We got to do the closing cost, title policy, option fee. So basically, they're going to be paying $156,000. Total due from the seller is $107,000, and my client is going to be walking away with $48,000 in cash. What is this? Go away. So I'm going to burn through this one since we already did it. Is there any questions real quick with the first one? Anybody? I feel like I'm the only one talking today. I guess it's because everybody's muted.
All good here, thanks.
Everybody good? Man, I'm just such a good teacher, it makes sense. Now, if you notice, there's going to be some of the same verbiage, guys. Services borrowed and not shop for. We had a doc prep fee. Seller paid. My seller is going to be paying to have that deed drawn up. My seller is going to be paying for the title insurance or the settlement fees, excuse me, $475. Oh, that's high. Electronic document storage fee. You got to pay for our server. Shipping, $25, which that's that courier fee again, which I think is crap. Tax certificate fee. We got to make sure you don't owe on taxes. So I'm just looking at the other side of the paper this time. They were paying the commission to both agents. I made $4,600. So to the other agent, they're paying the $85 to transfer the HOA documents. They're paying the taxes through the end of the year. And yeah, that's that title. Yeah, Texas Title Insurance Guarantee Association at $2. And everybody's got their hand out. So this was the closing disclosures that we got right before closing. I have not seen the final ones yet, but this is the one we got right before closing. The reason why I pulled this one up is when you get your closing disclosures, the clients that are selling their house want to know, how much money am I gonna make? Well, you can do a seller net sheet, but I promise you, you're gonna forget things like the $2 Texas guarantee thing and the 85%, whatever. You're gonna forget all that stuff. This is gonna be the most accurate representation of what they're gonna get. Also, just to let you know, this client was selling their house and they're going to be buying a new one next week. The loan originator on the new sell wants to know how much money are they making. As soon as I get this, I send it over to the lender saying, hey, look, they're going to be walking away with $48,000. We need to apply that to the next house. This is not the final one. The lender will ask you for the final, what do they call it? fully executed closing disclosure. So fully executed means that down here, there's signature lines that I whited out. Both of these signatures are on this piece of paper saying, yeah, that's the final one. Everybody saw it. Everybody's good with it. But this will get your lender started. Your lender will appreciate you sending this on. Next one, since we're speeding up a little bit.
Quick question.
What's up?
Is there any financial benefit for somebody closing in the last month of the year versus the first month of the year?
You know, it's more so at the end of the month versus the beginning of the month. There is a little bit of a financial, like, yeah, the end of the year helps a little bit too. I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far, but it has to do with how much of the taxes you're paying and how much. So you end up with a little bit less cash to close the closer to the end of the year you run and the closer to the end of the month.
Gotcha.
So it does help out. That's why I don't know if anybody's got any closings right now, but you cannot get a title company on the phone because they're doing 700 closings. The other benefit also, speaking from an investor perspective, because as you can see, this is a rental that I just bought. When you sell your property before the end of the year, you now have the tax liability on it. So if I did a flip and I sold it right now, I'd have to pay those taxes in April. If I wait till January 1, I don't have to pay until April 2022. So some things to think about, right? All right, so this is a rental I bought. Now, this is a little bit more of a different statement. The closing disclosures that we've been looking at are the newer forms that people have to fill out. Ever since the Dodd-Frank, ever since 2008, or I guess it was 2010, I think, when that law came out, they changed it. This is an old school that is still used a lot. Okay, so don't be like, oh, I'll never see this. Yes, you will. This, when did I close on this rental? Yeah, 12/18. This is like 2 weeks ago. I closed on this rental, and I bought this rental, and they sent me what is called a HUD 1. They call this a HUD 1 because of this little form, HUD 1. Okay, this comes from U.S. Housing and Urban Development. You will still see this, guys. It is essentially the exact same thing. The reason why they changed it is that they said the general public thought this was too confusing. Again, this is going to be one of those properties or one of those sheets that is kind of a debit and credit thing. You're going to see the exact same numbers just about on every side of this piece of paper. But at the bottom, it will zero out perfectly if you take all of this and all of this. So walking through my HUD 1, again, the first page is a summary. It's a general overview. Contracted price, $84,000. Settlement charges, guess who's paying title? All that kind of stuff, right? I told her I'd pay all closing. She has very few closing costs on this side. Adjustments, she had to pay I had to pay the property taxes through the end of the year. And so she's gonna get that credit on her side. Gross amount, I need to show up with $87,000. She's gonna walk away with $84,000. Now, why is that number different? Well, because $3,000 of that is gonna go into the abyss. That's gonna go to people other than me or her. That's gonna go to taxes, that's gonna go to the title company, that's gonna go somewhere else. So I always have to show up with more money than they're gonna get. So Colin, where's that money coming from? Well, I've already paid $500 in earnest money. And I've also am gonna be taking a loan of $66,000. So I've already got $67,000 shown up, okay? She's paying, we'll have to go look at line 1400. I think I have her paying title insurance. There's line 1400. Yeah, her total closing cost. So it's basically her total of everything over here is her settlement charges. So basically I've already brought 67 to the table. Remember, I had to bring 87. So 87 minus 67 means I need to bring $20,000 worth of cash. When this whole thing is done, she's going to get $82,000. Well, remember, we sold it for 84. She's going to have to pay $1,300 plus she's going to have to give me the last couple days of taxes. So that's where that 82 comes out. All right, so settlement charges. where that we're going to explain where her $1,300 comes from and where my $3,000 come from. So all this page does is break that down for us. Loan origination fee, had to pay $1,200 to get a loan. Service fee. I got this through a hard money lender, guys. It is a rental that has a renter in it. However, I am going to rehab this thing, so it's a hard money thing. These guys pop you with all these silly fees. So it's $1,200 origination, $999 for them to do the paperwork for me. They want me to pay interest through the end of the year. It's $193. Okay, so she had to pay $195 to get her deed drawn up. I had to pay part of the title insurance. She paid part of it. You can always call the title company. We each had to pay $350 to the title insurance for escrow fee. Again, guys, that is you're paying for them to sit down with you, put all the documents together, sign it, all that. There's that $2 that we had to pay to the state. We each have to pay that. I'm going to zoom in here. Tax deletion. No clue, but I'm assuming that's to pull the tax cert and all that kind of stuff. Environmental protection lien. Again, I would call the title company if I really had a question about this. It's $50, whatever. Like I said, they'll nickel and dime me to death. I wish I did know what these are. I don't know what an environmental protection lien is. Hillary, you're on here. Do you know what that is? I'm gonna go with no.
Sorry,
Again,
I'm sorry. I honestly don't know what that is.
yeah, I mean, like they just nickel and dime you to death, guys. And if you got a question, who do you call? 5-star title, because that's who you're paying. Recording fees, we've already been over that. That's her tax certificate because we got to make sure she paid her taxes. $10 to e-file it, which was higher than the other company. They only charged $6, right? She needed hard copies, so they charged her for the copies. That's where her 13 came from. That's where my 3. So this was a rental property I bought using hard money, guys. Basically, for $20,000, I now own a house that I bought for 84. That's actually worth about, I'd say 95. When I'm done, it should be worth the 135. And we'll talk about the BRRRR strategy later because that's what I'm going to be doing with this thing. And the smart thing, guys, by the way, if I can brag, this has got a renter in it. He's been renting this place for 6 years. Keep him in there because he's going to be paying me $900 a month in rent. And I think my loan payment to the hard money company is $400 and change. So basically, I brought $20,000 to the table. I'm already cash flowing $500. Not a whole lot, but it's pretty cool to have somebody pay for the loan while you're fixing it up.
If anybody wants to buy already cash flowing rentals, I have a bunch for sale on the market. FYI.
Call me later.
I will.
This is a flip I sold. This is a flip I did out in Lavernia, Texas. I sold it for $305,000. I got to admit, the minute I got this closing disclosure, which we've been over, I went straight to this line. Whoop, how much money am I making? $37,000. Cool. All right. The reason why that was cool for me is because I owned that house for right at 35 days. I think it was. It was a really quick turnaround. So that was not a bad deal. But as you can see, I sold it for $305,000. Closing cost, $20,000. Woo! That's a lot of closing costs, Colin. Why did you do that? How did you do that? Let me explain. I told them I'd pay $5,000 towards the closing cost. My option fee would they credit it to me. I had to pay off my loan and title policy, right? And property taxes. So, oh, by the way, guys, if you notice, it says that I paid property taxes through the year, and I told you that I only owned it for 35 days. You have to understand that whenever you buy a property, they get everybody squared away for the year. So when I bought this property, I paid for the taxes, or the taxes got settled for the entire year. So as soon as I settle it, we got to settle the taxes for the entire year again. So it's really no harm, no foul. It says I have to pay $1,500 in taxes. On my purchase statement, I bet you I got $1,100 in credit or something like that. So basically it cost me $400 or whatever the math is. I don't have that one pulled up, so it'll take me a little bit. But I do want to explain why this is $20,000 in closing costs. Oh my God, let's go look at that. I actually know why, but okay, so hold on a second. Did we pay the attorney $195 to draft stuff up? Copies $5, settlement fee $400. Tax deletion, or tax certificate, $10. That was easy. It's cheap out there. Recording fees, that was cheap. Where is this $10,000, $20,000 coming from? There it is. Guys, when you sell a $300,000 house, you pay $9,000 in commission. So I paid the other realtor, and something I did is I paid myself $9,000 out of this closing. The reason why I did that, since we do a lot of investing here, is because now this $9,000 comes directly to Colin's checking account. This goes to paying my mortgage and paying my car payment and food. And I can leave the last $37,000 in my business account so I can use it for my next transaction. That's just a little thing that I do to kind of keep my money working where it needs to be working. So that's why we're at $20,000 in closing costs, because since I was the seller, I had to pay $200,000 or $20,000 almost, or 18 grand in commissions. But half of that went to me, so not so bad. So my closing costs were actually closer to $11,000, which is not bad for a $300,000 house. Let's take a look at this last one before we tie it up. Oh, this one's fun. I was looking at this one with Jessica yesterday, and I thought I would pull this one up. Jessica's one of the White Line agents. She is working on selling this house as a short sale. This is a very interesting one to look at if you ever try and do a short sale. For those of y'all that don't remember, a short sale is selling a property for less than it is owed. If you owe $300,000 on the house and you want to sell it for $280,000, you need to get the bank involved in this. You've got to get the bank involved. So this is the closing disclosures step 1. Okay, this is not the final closing disclosures because obviously it's not, well, you'll see why. They agreed on a purchase price of $310,000. Due from the seller at closing is $358,000, which means he's going to have to show up with $48,826 to sell his house. This is cash from the seller. So in order to sell his house for $310,000, he needs to show up with $48,000. Holy Christ, why would you have to pay so much? Well, because you agreed on a price of $310,000 and you owe $321,000 to your mortgage company, and you owe somebody else $7,000. So you've got 2 liens on this property. Plus you said you'd pay for title. Plus you owe on your taxes this year. Okay. So right here, this due with the seller one, I just wanted to show this one, guys, because you've got to be real careful where this little X is. Cash from or cash to. So this initial one says that they have to come up with $48,000 to sell their house. If I'm not mistaken, I think this one was going in, I think they were like in foreclosure trouble or something. And they're like, we just want to sell it. Can we just get rid of it? Well, if I remember the story correctly, the highest anybody would offer is $310,000. So now with this information from this page, I'm not even going to go into the rest of it, right? I don't care about all the little ticky-tacky stuff. We're $48,000 off, $49,000. So right now, the next phone call needs to be to the lender and say, hey, can we short sell this thing $49,000? The lender is going to say yes or no. There's a lot of paperwork. I do not want to get into the short sell thing right now. It's a very, very deep, deep rabbit hole. It's very tricky to do. Lenders, needless to say, are very slow to give up $49,000. But this was the highest offer they got on that house. So the lender needs to understand, hey, either you're going to foreclose on it or you can lose $49,000 right now and get whatever the difference of that is. I don't know if this is a second mortgage or if it's I don't even know what that is. I didn't see the actual lien paperwork. I don't know what it is, but if it's a second mortgage, it's obviously 2 different mortgage companies. So this second company would probably be better off saying, hey, look, we'll take $2 grand because being in the subordinate position, if they foreclose, they lose everything. But that's real technical jargon for when the world burns down. And hopefully that doesn't happen to you too often. But I just wanted to show you all this one because it's gotta make sense, guys. It's gotta make sense. Because if not, it's gonna cost you $48,000. So that's why I put a question mark. Can we short sell it? Now we know for a fact, we got to short sell this thing for $49,000. Otherwise, we can't close it. Or they've got to show up with $49,000 not to get a foreclosure on their record. One of the two. And if you're in foreclosure right now, you probably don't have $49,000. So since we went through all of these wonderful closing disclosures and HUD ones and all this great stuff, does anybody have any questions at all? Anybody? Nobody? Joey, nothing. Vanessa, are you there? Questions, comments, concerns?
I'm here. I don't have no questions though.
Beautiful. So I did a wonderful job. All right, well, we got 8 minutes to go before we hit our 1 hour mark. Then I have got a favor to our present. Like I said, Santa Claus is coming down. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, guys. What I want you to do is in the chat box, you can either do it to everyone or you can do a private chat just to me. I want you to put your mailing address in because we were talking a little bit about goals last time we did one of these things. And I expressed the importance of sharing your goals with your spouse or significant other or whoever you want and kind of getting your goals in line with them. And my wife and I were sitting down talking. I was telling her what I was doing and how many houses I wanted to sell and what I was doing here. And she pointed out, she goes, Colin, you have an amazing network of people. Like, you know so many people from so many different places. Have you read this book? And it's called The 7 Levels of Communication by Michael Meyer. And I had not read this book. She goes, oh my God, it's fantastic. One of the people on the back of this book is Gary Keller of Keller Williams. I was like, interesting. And then I got to researching it a little bit. And there's a lot of realtors that really, really like this book because the basic thing is go from relationships to referrals. So I was like, all right. I got to digging around a little bit more, and there's just a ton of fantastic information from realtors and the like, general salespeople, on how to take the people that you know and get them to become clients. So everybody that's on the Zoom call today, if you send me your address, I will text this. I will send you a copy of this book at no charge, courtesy of Colin, because I want y'all to be successful. And since you invested the time today to learn something, we're going to give you some time to learn something else. And then what we're going to do is probably, I'll give you a couple of weeks, but I'm going to bring all y'all back in here that I sent a book to. I'm going to call every single one of you, and we're going to go through this book, and we're going to see what you learn. Because if I send you this book and you don't read it, no. So I want you to read it. Go through this book. It seems fantastic. I've gotten about a chapter into it. Like I said, it's been a busy end of the year. So as soon as I'm done, we're getting it. So guys, send me your address. Do it quickly. I'm missing a couple addresses. Other than that, guys, you have a wonderful, wonderful end of the year. Be safe out there at New Year's. Remember, Uber is cheap. If you're going to go do something silly, Uber. If you're going to have fireworks out, please make sure you stay outside the city limits and find whatever you can. And I will see you guys soon.